And I just want to let everybody know we're going to go through the questions that were emailed to me. Thank you to everyone who did send a question or a comment so that we have some topics to go over. And then we have just some miscellaneous information that we want to make sure and relay to you guys so that you guys are all aware of things that are happening here. If throughout the conversation here or the topics that we go through, if you have a question, please go ahead and put that in the chat. And after we run through everything, we will be sure and try to answer as many questions as we can. So to start off, I'm just going to read the first question that we received. It says, to do budget revisions, which are contract amendments now in web grants, some grants in web grants have required that we enter the amount we want to increase or decrease the award, while other grants have required that we enter the new total for the budget line. Will DPI standardize budget revisions going forward? So just to explain why there is a difference, some programs have different reporting requirements, and those then require what's called a multi-budget. So they need to be processed differently because we need to be able to report on different parts of those budgets. Some examples of those that have a multi-budget are Title IV and also Striving Readers or Comprehensive Literacy. Most of the other programs have the same process that asks you to enter the proposed revised amount and not increase or decrease when you do a contract amendment. And if you have any questions on those when you're doing those, you can sure feel free to reach out and we can try to help you work through those. Remember that this is not, it's not a ledger entry, it's not a plus or a minus, but rather it's a new total. So one item we found that causes an issue is users completely remove the line in the amendment section. So we don't want you to delete any lines. Instead, you just put 0 for that new amount, like the other lines that users update or add to reflect the changes requested for the budget. And again, if you have questions on that when you're doing it, feel free to reach out. Another question is, to enter initial budgets, does DPI have any plans to give districts a standard Excel sheet we can fill out and then upload instead of entering everything line by line? This would be helpful to cut down the time it takes to enter everything in web grants. And I believe this question was directed because of the consolidated application and how we're asking you to enter everything line by line for your budgets. Currently, the web grant system doesn't have this capability. However, we do continue to look at enhancements, and we do appreciate when we get feedback from the field. Some things are not big asks and can be done and can be implemented, while others are not. So as of right now, no, we don't see that happening. But who knows, you know, down the road. There are still many questions about account codes and specifically source codes for all the federal funds. Would it be possible to put together a summary sheet specifically about source codes, such as which funds need them, under what circumstances is it not required, and if all funds are spent, is it still required for the following year's grant? So the source code is how the district and DPI can differentiate which grant or which funding source the funds are being expended and claimed. The NDSD Farm Manual is updated with the source code information. The year of the grant award notification from the Department of Ed is the source, not the fiscal year the district is spending those funds, and not the year that the DPI grants those funds to you. It is based on the USED grant award notification. A source code is needed for all federal funds tracking with the same project code, but multiple years of funding. Like Title I, you get an allocation every single year. So you need a source code on those. Title II, Title IV, 21st century, IDEA, all of those, the districts get an allocation every year. So they have multiple years of funding, but it's the same project code for those granted funds. So they would need that source code. It is not required if a program does not have multiple funding years. So you have, such as the ESSER funds. ESSER funds were a one-time funding, and each pot of those ESSER funds got their own project code. So you don't need to have a project code on those. To clarify, it is required for all programs that are awarded multiple years, even if you, as the district, have spent all of your prior year's funds. So let's say you spent all of your 2021 funds, so now you have 21-22 funds, you still need to have a source code on those because it is a program that awards you funds every year with the same project code. If you ever question what the source code is for a particular grant, it is on your contract within that grant. So if you go into that grant, click on that contract component and scroll through that information, that is your grant award. And under the grant award information funding source, you will see the string of numbers, which is the FAIN, the award number. And within that, it will tell you what your source code should be for that pot of funds. We did put together a little quick general information, and that will go out in the blast today. So, or on Thursday, I think. So if you want to just pay attention to that and click on that link that's in there, it's just some general information, kind of what I just went over, but it also gives you an example and a screenshot of what your grant award or your contract looks like and where to find that source. So we do have, that's all the questions that we had, but we do have some miscellaneous information that we just want to make sure that you guys are all aware of, and this is a great forum to provide you guys information. The first thing is, I realize that some of you are becoming real familiar with Jason Kayla, which is awesome. They are our first reviewers for claims and amendments here at DPI. They're doing a great job providing continuity across programs regarding what is required for both claims and amendments. They are your first reviewers for all programs within web grants, and they know what's needed to move a claim or an amendment forward. So if you're struggling with how to do that contract amendment, they're going to be the ones that you're going to be communicating with to help you move those forward. If you have programmatic questions on allowability, or if something you're questioning whether you can do an activity, those questions still need to go to your program administrators for each program within this department. Those are not a Jason Kayla question. Those are your program questions. We did receive from some feedback that asked if we could include, when we negotiate either a claim or an amendment back, that we include the name and the phone number on that negotiation, so that when the district has a question, they know who to reach out to. And so thank you for that feedback. The fiscal unit has included that in their processes. So if something is negotiated back from our fiscal office, we will make sure and include our name and phone number on that, so you know who it is that's asking for some corrections on there. When I wanted to let you guys know also that on the grant award itself, there you may notice some different information. In addition to every contract created is going to have the following language. It's going to say that funds must be claimed within 120 days of expenditure. It's going to cite 2 CFR, which states that subgrantees, including LEAs, must minimize the time elapsing between disbursement by the subgrantee and the transfer of funds from the state. So it is good budget and cash management practice to be claiming funds regularly. and not waiting to claim funds. Web Grants is a great system that allows districts to claim at any time, which is recommended so everybody can stay on track. Please be aware of that 120-day time frame and try to make claims on your granted funds quarterly at a minimum. Don't wait until the end of the fiscal year to make a claim. One more item that we wanted to talk about is when we do negotiate claims back or amendments back, you guys generally receive an alert. So you're going to receive an email alert with the information that's in that negotiation. It also can be found within the correcting component itself by clicking on the alert history. That way, if you delete the email or you've moved on to something else and you can't remember why it was negotiated back, you have access to the information at any time. So, Rebecca, do you want to steal the screen and give a little tutorial here on that? I'm going to mute myself here.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. That was Shauna. She didn't introduce herself, and I'm sure she doesn't need an introduction because most of you have worked with her forever and know her. But we super appreciate her doing these meetings for us because she really is, we kind of joke and call her the ledger queen, but she really does. She's so knowledgeable on all of this. So thank you, Shauna. A couple of quick tips for this morning. If you are getting this black pop-up when you log in, you'll also probably see it behind your name somewhere. It may say, you know, quarterly report due or sam.gov. This isn't, you're not in huge trouble. It just means we need you to get your sam.gov updated information into us. So you can just send a screenshot of it to anyone if you want. We do periodically go through and check them and cross-reference, but it's a manual process. So it's probably done monthly, not nearly as frequently as it could be. So if you see that pop up and or see it in your name that something is out of compliance, you feel free to reach out to any of us, email us the information and we can update it for you. The only thing that is holding back payments right now would be if you have a quarterly report that is overdue for ESSER 1. Otherwise, the sam.gov, we just can't award you new money until you have a compliant number, but we can continue to pay out your claims. So the couple of things that we wanted to look at today, if you have something in your recent negotiations, there's a date on that. And once the due date passes, it falls off your dashboard. So we're going to talk about how to find those items later because sometimes we're busy. Maybe one person gives you 1 week, somebody else gives you 2. To be honest with you, unless it is a quarterly report, you know, that House bill report, something that has a really firm due date on it, if you never do it, it's really not our issue. I mean, obviously we're here to help you and we want you to do it. But if it falls off your dashboard, we'll show you where to find it. You're busy, life happens, we understand. But if you would click on something that's in correcting status right from your dashboard, it opens up this preview view, I guess, for it. And normally we just go over and edit and start working. This is what Shauna's talking about, the alert history, this little non-tab tab here. If you click on it, it's going to tell you everything that happened. It's ugly, like we always say with web grants, it's efficient, not pretty, but it's going to show you everything. If you scroll to the bottom, you can see exactly what the date and time was and what happened. The status of the report changed from editing to submitted. Okay, and then now this one, what happened here, it looks like it's telling this was a notification to the internal person saying this has been approved. And then this was me deleting off the approvals so I could show you a negotiation this morning. But it's not pretty, but you can see exactly what's been, you know, why it is negotiated back. So on this one, you can see it a little easier. It's in bold. So the comments appear below. So it was, please correct the answers, whatever that might be. And this is where Shauna said we're going to start adding our name and our phone number. So if you have a question on something, but I would always come into the alert history. We all get too many emails and they're just ugly, generic. They look like spam. Nobody's paying that much attention to them. If you see something on your dashboard in correcting status, I would just click on it and go right to the alert history. See what you need to do with it. That way you're not trying to flag emails, remember what the world, come back later. This alert history is your friend. Quick review it and then do your edit the status report. or whatever component was negotiated back to you. The other piece I wanted to remind people, this was a request put in by somebody and it was an awesome idea. The search claims. So you can search if you know you had a payment, and with the ACH, and a lot of times we're not sending a request for funds, your old PDF you used to send to us, and then we would send it back to you with the check or however that works. Like now you're just getting a check and people are like, what is this for? What is it? You can search claims by statuses. So if you know something was paid and you know a date range that it was paid in, you can go ahead and do that and then just do a search. It's only going to bring up anything paid within that date. So that's super helpful. The other thing I would use that for, I would do it to see if you have anything in correcting status. So this isn't going to help you if you got a status report negotiated back, the time passed and it fell off your dashboard. That won't help you there, but I would definitely every so often just come in here and see if you have anything in correcting. If that date passed, it's gone and you're not seeing it on your dashboard, you're assuming that we're doing it and we're paying it and we're assuming that we sent it back to you. And so you're going to be fixing it and nothing is happening. It's just sitting here. So you can always click onto it, whichever, grant it is, click on that alert history, see why it was sent back to you, see what's needed, and then do that. So that's just a quick reminder to check on those every so often. Use your claim search feature. And once you open something, check that alert history button. So that is all I have. Shauna, is there? I'm going to mute myself and then just keep answering the questions in the chat.
Okay, and that's all I have for today. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So if anyone has any additional ones, if you want to put them in the chat, we'll give you a little bit of time here to see if anything pops up.
Or be brave and unmute. You're welcome to do that as well.
Yes. I don't know that we're going to have one of these in December, only because of time frame and holiday and all of that. So we will probably pick these back up in January again. Let's see. Dawn asked, does CLSD need a source code? They're kind of a goofy one. I would say that they do not. And the reason I say, well, hold on, let me look. I believe you're only getting the one grant, and it's one. There is only one source code for CLSD because CLSD only has one. It's all coming out of one pot. I think, is that right, Rebecca? So I don't think
so. So I think you have different budget periods, right? Like you had year 1, year 2, year 3. So you can only spend a certain amount within that budget period, but it is actually all out of the same FAIN, the same awarded amount to the state and the same amount that we are passing on to you. So in the case of that, you wouldn't have a source. But on the other ones, yeah, those multi-budgets are just kind of funky.
Okay, so Dave asked, are these recordings going to be on DPI's website? I do have the recordings. I know that we create them. I don't know that we've posted them. I've just kind of been sending them out when asked, and it might be a good idea. I just don't know if there's a good spot on DPI's website to put them, but we will, I will look into that, Dave, and see if there's like a logical place to put them. But at any time you can reach out to us or reach out to me and I can send them out to you. So if you miss one,
put them on their listserv, Shauna?
Oh, I could do that. Yeah.
Because that way we know all those parties are getting it that need it.
True. That's a really good idea. Okay, I will do that. Let's see. What about 21st Century? 21st Century does get an allocation every year. So yes, 21st Century will need a source code. Let's see. Yep, and we are doing a follow-up in the weekly blast on the source code information. So that weekly blast, the weekly blast will come out tomorrow. I believe Lisa Johnson is putting that out, and there is an article in there that is going to give a summary of the source code information that we talked about today. Do we need to use source codes with it?
That went to 21st century.
Oh, sorry. So yes, 21st century does need source code. And then Natalie asking about the recordings. Okay, so yes, I will put these recordings, because Rebecca just gave a great suggestion. I will send these recordings out in the Business Manager listserv for both the October and the November. And then if anyone else needs them, hopefully, I believe most of you guys are subscribed to that listserv, so you should be able to get them there. All right. Okay, well, thank you guys all for joining and for sending questions. I think it's great for us to be able to communicate with you guys and for you guys to be able to ask us questions as we go, so we all can do our jobs a little bit better. So thank you guys, and have a good rest of your week and a good Thanksgiving.